Commissioner, you've complained that today and previously several times that Congress has not given you enough money to do due diligence on customer service. And some, I believe, would be very surprised to know that you have the same amount of dollars in the 2014 budget, in the 2015 budget that is dedicated specifically and has been appropriated to customer service. And that is not coming through in a lot of your testimony that you deliver before us and other places around town when you speak. The problem that I have today is that the IRS gets to choose where it spends some of its dollars, and it looks to me like you're purposely diverting money away from customer service to harm taxpayers. We're going to put a slide up today that reflects some of the user fee account dollars and where they've gone in the past and where they're going in the future and where they're happening to go today. Last year, the IRS, you spent $183 million out of this user fee account for customer service, which was about, I think, 44% of that account was used to help make sure that taxpayers had the assistance that they needed to adequately pay their taxes. This year, it looks like you only chose to spend $49 million of this user fee dollars on taxpayer services. I believe that's down to almost 10% of the account. And it was directly chosen by you to do that at a time when you come before our committee and you come before many other places around town talking about the fact you don't have enough dollars for customer service. Instead, you moved money that you had the opportunity to away from customer service and put it into operations. So from where I'm sitting, it looks like to me that you're purposely harming taxpayers.
Right. Can I answer that assertion?
Well, I would like the question that I would like you to answer is, do you agree that you've cut the use of taxpayer fees or user fees to pay for customer assistance? Is that correct?
That money was moved to, in fact, fund the IT necessary for implementing the statutory mandate that Congress passed. In 2014, we asked for $300 million for IT to support FATCA and the Affordable Care Act. In 2015, we asked for $300 million to support the implementation of the statutory mandate. In both years, the Congress gave us $0, so we had no choice but to go elsewhere to find the resources to implement the mandate that we have no choice about implementing. So we did take, and I made that clear before, and the Chairman was very accurate in noting that we've never been fully funded for customer service. We've always used our user fees in the last several years, and you're right. The numbers are exactly right. We spent $190 million of that 2014. But again, as we got zero funding for the Affordable Care Act implementation, we have no choice. We could not afford to have the filing season collapse because we couldn't implement that. So we took $100 million of user fees out of customer service and put it into the IT to, in fact, the operations to develop the IT necessarily to support filing season.
How much money annually do you collect in user fees?
Our user fee account varies, but it's in the range of $200 to $250 million. It goes up and down.
So out of that amount, you chose to reduce the dollars that were purposely dedicated to customer service and use those to fund IT.
We didn't fund just IT. We funded the statute that we are required to implement. At the same time, we took money out of enforcement. As I say, we're going to have 5,000 fewer people in enforcement. So this is not a question of we put the money in places we didn't need it. We've actually taken money from everywhere. And part of the reason we've done that is because of the refusal of the Congress in 2014 to give us the $300 million necessary to implement the Act, the refusal of Congress to give us $300 million for IT in 2015 to implement the Act. We've shared that information with the appropriators.
If you would look at the slide that we have up today, I'd like you to glance at that, because what this shows, based on GAO data, is that there's a direct correlation between wait time that taxpayers have to wait for assistance from the IRS, and that correlates with the amount of user fees that are dedicated to taxpayer services. And that's what concerns me today, is that knowing this is the projection we're going to see in the future, that the decision was made by leadership within the IRS, which I believe lays directly at your feet, that you have chosen to help IT, to help other areas of your budget to the detriment of taxpayers, and that they're truly the ones who are going to suffer in the future because they won't have the assistance to make sure that they pay their taxes on time. I believe it's a loss of priorities. I don't believe that workers who work for the IRS are bad. I think many of them work very, very hard every day. I do think this is directly relational to leadership and the lack of priorities identified correctly to where they need to be. We have to remember each and every day that the dollars that you deal with are the taxpayer dollars, and that the refunds are due them and due them in a responsible amount of time. So that is the concern that I have is that when I look at your budget and where you have chosen to prioritize funding, it has not been in taxpayer services and in assistance and taking care of them. It has instead been on other areas such as IT improvements, which we can see you certainly have had millions of dollars you could work with over previous years.
If you would be able to point out to me where we would find elsewhere the $300 million in 14 and the $300 million in 15 for the implementation of the statutory mandate that Congress passed, where else we could find the money, I'd be happy to know that. We sat down, as Congressman Kelly said, with the entire leadership team looking for how are we going to fund the requirements that we have of implementing statutes and running the filing season. We did not take money just from customer service. We took money from across the board. As I say, we have 5,000 fewer people in enforcement. We have fewer lawyers. We have fewer appellate people. There has been an across-the-board attempt to balance out the needs. If you can find a better way for us to have spent that money, I'd be happy to talk with you about it.
Ms. Black.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.